Welcome back to Beyond Stats. We just got done Jazz versus Clippers. Game 2
Big
came
win.
away with a win. And I honestly, this is a game I did not expect us to win.
The way that the Clippers spanked the crap out of the Trailblazers the other night, and it looked like they were making a point.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to come in and be pretty heavy-handed. So we obviously had a better performance than Game 1, but come away with the win. And with how difficult first part of our schedule is, I thought we could
That's
easily
huge.
go 0-4.
Huge.
We'll take that. Home win by 2 points over the Clippers at full strength early on in the season. That says
That's
something.
really good to see. Freaking Lowry Markkanen, man. This is the kind of performance we're looking at it for him.
Lowry Markkanen, another 35 and 12. He was 12 of 23 from the field, 5 of 13 from three. Very efficient. It seems like we're still not getting him the ball in a lot of movement. Still in the half court, we still haven't figured out that piece yet. But he's
not really those slashes that he was getting a lot of dunks and layups and stuff from last year. We really haven't seen
right
at all.
And I would credit that to basically a lack of real point guard play. But he's getting his points a little bit different, and a great performance tonight. Down the stretch, some big rebounds and plays, and
yes,
that was exciting. And some big time players out there on the court with Markkanen and Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Paul George had 35 points as well, I think.
Yes, he did.
He was 36 points and 4 rebounds. But a lot of stars on the floor, and we came out with a win, and a lot of things happened in that game to discuss.
Yes, quite a lot.
Where do we want to start?
I don't know. We want to start bad or good?
There are some polarizing individuals on this team, and during the game, you were going to kind of some of the forums, right? The chat forums about players.
Just listen to the community, and on Bleacher Report, on Twitter, X, things like that, and THT
he's a polarizing fella.
Yes, it is. Jazz fans are either absolutely love him or just absolutely hate him. There's not really any in between. I would be lying if I didn't say I wasn't on the hate side.
He was 3 of 10. What did he have? 10 points.
He had 8 assists,
3 rebounds, 8 assists. He had 3 steals. Had some steals early, a block, and 2 turnovers. So had a lot of different categories with numbers in them right there. I've noticed that as we watch him more, that the majority of his assists happen in transition.
Yeah, that's usually he's pretty good in transition. There's no doubt about that.
I think that part of what we'll see is it's going to be tough for him to come in and close games, because when you get into the fourth quarter and games are tight, the game happens in the half court and it slows down, and that's where he doesn't typically get assists in that part of the game.
And that's kind of, you mentioned Markkanen not really getting the ball in good positions. That comes down to who he's playing with, right? With a guy like Clarkson, a guy like Tucker, that, and the big argument that, we kind of talked about a little bit during the game, but the big argument that everyone makes about Tucker, who's on the really high side about him, is, well, look at all the numbers, this assist, he had 8 assists tonight, those kind of things. And that's the whole reason for a channel like this. Because if that's all you look at, Russell Westbrook is one of the greatest players to ever play this game. You said greatest player ever.
Greatest player ever, most triple doubles ever.
Right. It comes down to a usage thing and a way you're able to actually put your guys in the right position. Is he getting 8 assists because some of them are good out in the open floor, and then the rest are he's just pounding the hell out of the ball, and sometimes at the end of the shot clock, a shot happens, right? Or is it because he's actually really trying to run an offense? And those are the kinds of things you need to look at when you start talking about building a championship team.
Sure.
Those numbers are great on a mediocre team. We're probably going to be mediocre this year, sure. But the whole idea is to be putting together championship pieces. And those are the things we really need to look at as a team, as a fan base. Those are the things we need to focus on if we actually want to see this team excel and compete for a championship.
And I think we are middle of the pack.
This year
You
for
know,
sure with our roster right now, 100%.
and there's a role in Taylor Horton Tucker does some things that can help a team. I would make that argument that it's off the bench and kind of doesn't ever really close out a game.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about, Will Hardy's made comments about, well, we may be just kind of, point guard by committee, and modern NBA doesn't really run without a point guard. And look what happened in the playoffs. And that makes a ton of sense if you have a Jokic on your team or if you have LeBron. You can go down the stretch or play playoff games and and not have to have an absolute point guard, organizer, playmaker for your team when you have a superstar like that.
For sure.
When it comes down to end of game situations and when you get into the playoffs, if you don't have an anomaly superstar playmaker, you have to have a point guard.
Yeah.
Or you have to use your most point guard like player. Now, I would make the argument right now that that's Keontae George, oddly enough, this early in his career, or Chris Dunn.
Well, and that's the thing is when you watch the game, we seem to be a little kind of herky jerky, no real rhythm offensively, no real rhythm defensively to start games. We get about 4 or 5 minutes into the game. Agbaji, Chris Dunn, Keontae George, Olynyk. Though this game it was Agbaji, Dunn, and Olynyk. 3 guys who are going to move the ball around. 2 guys who are studs defensively, and all of a sudden things start to click.
That's when we took our first lead
And
for the game, right?
And at that moment, we kind of just stayed in the lead. They had some runs back and forth, but from there we kind of just held on to the lead. And all of a sudden, and Olynyk moved the ball fantastically this game. But you get a couple guys like that, and it's crazy the difference the flow of the game feels when that sub happens, when that switch happens. And a guy like Agbaji, he took 2 shots, he made one, missed one, had a good cut, but you feel the impact of all of his minutes, every single one of his minutes, because a team like the Clippers, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, with our starting lineup, we really don't have anyone who can just straight up slow them down. But Chris Dunn and Agbaji come in, and we're just back and forth hitting them with both of them. All of a sudden, Paul George looks uncomfortable. Kawhi Leonard looks uncomfortable.
Every bucket they got during those stretches, they had to earn. They were difficult.
100%.
They were tough.
And a guy like that, a guy like Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, all you're trying to do is make their life hard. You're not expecting to really be able to stop them over and over again. You just want to make life harder for them, make them work, because offensively, defensively, it grinds throughout the game.
And it looked like, we came in and we were closing with Dunn.
Yes.
In Clarkson. They pulled Dunn out with, what was it, like 45 seconds left or a minute left or right in there. After he kind of left to double and drew a foul that was pretty soft, sub foul. And it looked like Jason Terry was talking with him on the sideline afterwards, like maybe he made a wrong decision to go over there. I thought it was a pretty smart decision. And was it Paul George that took that shot, or was it Kawhi?
Paul George.
When Paul George, he kind of turned his back to do a fadeaway, and Dunn had closed in on the double, and I thought it was pretty smart because as soon as Paul George turned his back,
he's there, and he doesn't come under his legs,
right, and jumped up to just give him a harder contest. Anyways, Jason Terry was talking with him on the sideline, almost like questioning his decision. So maybe he made a read that wasn't a part of that defensive package. I don't know. Late game stuff,
right? You don't know.
And so at that point they pulled him, but for all intents and purposes, they were closing with Dunn at the point guard spot.
And our offense looked better for it. Our defense looked better for it.
And to be honest, we made, I wouldn't say abnormally, but we made tough shots down the stretch here. Kelly Olynyk came in and made 2 huge shots.
Olynyk made 2 huge shots.
Jordan Clarkson's shot was
crazy
incredible
shot.
At the end.
Markkanen hit a couple tough buckets. Like,
for all intents and purposes,
we should have lost.
That was a loss.
Yeah, but you take a win.
So you can't say, well, what if, we'll take it. We love it. That's a game where we made huge shots and we won because of it, against a pretty tough team, because the Clippers at full strength, if the Clippers could be full strength all season long, they're a top elite. 4 team in the West. They're a monster team. forgive me for questioning the fragility of the Clippers. That's the whole thing. We don't think they'll be healthy all year.
Yeah.
But if, so that's, for all intents and purposes, that was a game that could have very well gone the other way. A little bit, I'd like to see, Agbaji only got 12 minutes, Keontae George 12 minutes. I'd like to see those guys get more. Walker Kessler 21 minutes. He played the least amount of all the starters. But I would like to say Walker Kessler seemed like he had more aggressiveness today than I've seen him all year so far.
Yeah, and it comes back to the same problem I mentioned after the season opener. Because of the guard lineups that we're running, 3-4 guards, not necessarily players, just 3-4 guards at a time. Olynyk is strictly playing backup 5. We also play Collins at backup 5 at times, which means we're only seeing those minutes with Kessler off the floor. Only seeing Olynyk on the floor with Kessler off the floor. Not seeing them together at all hurts our depth at the 4. And Kessler doesn't see the court a whole lot because of it. He should be playing 28, 29 minutes a game.
Indeed, and I would dare say that anytime John Collins plays the backup 5, Keontae George should be on the court with him, and we should be playing Lob City ball.
I agree. They played so well in the preseason together, and Keontae George is looking for that.
He wants to make those plays.
He wants to run the offense. He wants to find the open guy. That's been the biggest thing that surprised me about him so far is his willingness to do all of that, which makes you wonder, how long does it take for him to start really pushing up his minutes, for him to sneak into starting lineup?
And how cool was it to see him basically throw down the gauntlet and play some defense on Russell Westbrook? That was kind of a garbage call too.
Yeah.
I loved him, getting in the lane and being strong with him physical, and the ref called a little petty foul, and he was clapping his hands over it. Those are signs I want to see. Yeah, I want to see that he wants that.
He's showing everything we were hoping he would show.
Yeah. I mean,
he just needs the time for it.
And he doesn't have fear. I mean, he comes off the bench and just
dude.
That's not normal, people. That is not normal.
Yeah. He's been a bright spot. And the thing is the more you allow him those minutes and the learning and struggling, the closer we start getting to when we're getting down the stretch and we really need a guy to help Markkanen out and run an offense, the closer we're getting to him to be able to do that.
To me, I mean, you guys all know that I love, soccer and the beautiful game, and people and players who have speed of thought and can read space. That's huge in soccer. Keontae George, to me, does the best of that out of anybody on the team.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be like, I have to go this way and put my head down and dribble, or I have to shoot it. It doesn't mean every decision is perfect, but the way to, read what the defense is giving and take that shot or take that pass, it's it's impressive. And the only other thing is, I mean, it's crazy to me how much Zubac looks like Joan Cusack. I don't know, man. I can't get it out of my head.
I'm obsessed with that for years.
I know.
I
know. I can't. Anytime I watch Girls Point Blank, I swear it's a Clippers game. Anyways.
Another thing, kind of good, kind of bad in this game was John Collins. I mentioned it in the first game. John Collins, you can really see defensively just isn't there yet with this team. Any time they went to Collins and Clarkson's side, there was no communication between the two, and it was just both of them making awful decisions defensively and then just getting a wide open shot over and over again whenever they wanted.
True.
And so those are things we obviously need to fix. They come with time, and it's tough to see. On the other hand, though, he is... during the game, mentioned, man, he might be our best rebounder. And you were like, nope, he is. Not might. He is. John Collins is the best rebounder on our team.
The addition of him is all of a sudden made us a good rebounding team.
Yes.
I mean, we out-rebounded them by, how much did I say? Was it? Let's see. 54-44. We out-rebounded them by 10. And we obviously had a lot more assists than them. We're a strong rebounding team now.
Yeah, him and Markkanen on the floor together give us really good rebounders. And then obviously Kessler's strong rebounder, and then the Chris Dunn's a good rebounding guard. Agbaji's a really good rebounding guard now, which we didn't see much of last year. And
Yeah.
so getting more and more out of that, we won game one. I think we won by like 9 on the boards as well. And so that has been something that surprised me. Did not think we were going to be seeing consistent 10, 11 rebounds out of John Collins in
Yeah.
2 games, 2 double doubles.
The amount of second chance points we get now is huge. The improvement of offenses in the NBA seems like it goes up every year. So if you're a team that gets second chances, it's brutal. I mean, you all of a sudden your efficiency, because it's counted as one trip across half court, just goes through the roof.
Yep.
So it's a killer part of the game. That was obviously a big thing that the Team USA got beat on at the World Cup. That FIBA is doing is, we used to worry. The NBA is worried for so long about transition more than offensive rebounds. We used to just, up until this summer, basically, send all of our guys back instead of crashing the boards. But it's something that this team's good at.
Yeah. Good showing by Colin Sexton.
Better, yeah, that was his
But
better one.
the one thing that's just frustrating the hell out of me with him though is he's all of a sudden seems like he just doesn't want to pass the ball. It is just
That's been an issue with him.
He's just putting his head down, which in bench minutes and role, that doesn't hurt you as much. He can have his super impact plays. You don't see it as much, but it's definitely frustrating any lineups of like him, Clarkson, Tucker, 2 of those 3 together, because we just don't move the ball that much. But beyond that, Sexton had a very good off the bench, impactful, super energy, bring us minutes, and then you sit him down. And that's what you need to do with a guy like that, honestly. You let him come in, let him just be that young bull and get those turnovers that he got on Paul George not getting across half court, and those kind of plays. And then you sit him, and you kind of, you got to control it a little bit.
Yeah, my opinion on Tucker, Sexton, Clarkson is all 3 of them show characteristics to me that look like strong off the bench players.
Yeah.
And so with our lineup and how we're kind of forcing at least 1, sometimes 2 of them into the starting lineup role, it just becomes kind of square peg trying to go into a round hole type thing. It just doesn't quite fit. And so it always offers a little bit of frustration and it doesn't quite fit. And that's something that we'll have to evolve as a team. But I think that's why. It's because all 3 of them to me are off the bench type players on good teams. They all have impactful traits. But it's just none of them are starter quality level for the league. And so that's what is frustrating.
Which is why, hopefully we see trades this season, because I'm so split about it, because I hate when Clarkson starts because of the ball movement, things like that. But I love him off the bench, right? Because it's that Jamal Crawford-esque.
Very Jamal Crawford-esque.
Hit crazy freaking shots.
The stuff that guy does is incredible.
And there are times when a guy like that, the way he's playing, there are times when it's like, man, he's just on fire. He's going to close out the game.
Has to.
And that's okay. That's cool. That's cool. But it's being able to balance that and understand when that's happening. And so a big reason why I'm just begging for some trades to happen is, 1, we need them if we really want to take that next step. But 2, I'm hoping it allows us to get guys into positions that they're more suited for. I think, and that's where I think that switch needs to happen, is Agbaji fits better in a starting lineup that's got good scores around him, because he's a really good 3-and-D guy, slasher, that kind of guy, going to score anywhere from 4 points to 15 points, depending on the game. But he's not really ever going to go get his own bucket. And then Clarkson comes in off the bench and gives that kind of energy and just kind of gives that flamethrower mentality on a team, which is really necessary off the bench. I think that's our biggest struggle right now, is because we're starting Clarkson, our bench doesn't really have great scoring. Sexton did better tonight, but I mean, game one kind of showed, right? He didn't really do well at all, and so, and that's that streakiness. But yeah,
Interesting to watch, and depending on exactly what our coaches are encouraging our players to do, I think Will Hardy kind of takes a more of an approach of let's try and stay within a certain pattern, but he allows them to create like crazy
yeah,
within those patterns. There was an interesting interview this week by Emmanuel Mudiay. You can go out there and find it on YouTube. And as you guys remember, a former player for Utah Jazz for 1 year, and talked about kind of the rigidity of Quinn Snyder's system in that year that he was here and how it affected the players and how they were kind of going off of analytics. And so that kind of comes into play as well sometimes. I encourage you to go watch that. But it would be interesting to be a fly on the wall in the coaches' meetings and the practices and see exactly what is being encouraged and what is not, and how we'll evolve this season. But we'll take the win tonight. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting a super tough game.
Super pumped to win this game.
And we end up, let's see, we have a back-to-back. We play tomorrow again, right?
Play Phoenix tomorrow in Phoenix.
In Phoenix. And Phoenix just lost. I wonder if they're going to have Booker or Beal.
I don't know what Beal's situation with his back is. I don't know why Booker missed. I didn't see why he missed his game. I know Beal's recovering from a back injury he suffered in preseason. So who knows how long that will take for him to recover.
So that one will be going into the fire. I mean, I predicted Phoenix was, can't remember, did I predict them 1 or 2?
I had them one. I don't know what you did.
I did Denver and then them 2. Anyways, they're going to be tough.
I don't think you really committed either way.
I'm going to have to go back and watch that. I meant it a lot, really, a lot. I'll have to go back and watch that, but they're going to be super tough in Phoenix, back-to-back. But it'll be interesting to see what we do as the team evolves and what happens. There are some teams out there already that are struggling, and some strife happening in locker rooms.
Yes.
And pain equals leverage and opportunities. So we'll see.
Hoping for that.
Yep, because we are in a moments of consolidation. We're in a consolidation war season that we need to win and upgrade our talent in certain spots on the court if we're actually going to be a playoff team this year and be able to compete in the next couple of years.
Right. No, I would agree. Kind of one last thing about this game for me is that it's honestly a game we could have even won by more, because I feel like we missed a lot of wide open threes. Was that balanced by hitting tough threes? I don't know. So that's something I want to kind of see as we go on, is see kind of how our shooting goes. We saw the first Walker Kessler 3 of the regular season, so
it's true.
See how that goes throughout this season on if we can be a good competitive 3-point shooting team.
And we ended up shooting 39%. They were 40% from 3, so pretty even on our threes that we made. Obviously, with our 27 assists, we had more ball movement, more assisted buckets, so
yeah,
that was good. But it's all about how we evolve as the season goes along. You know, as the player, if playoffs were to happen right now, you know, I don't think necessarily that we're one of the top 8 teams in the West right now, but I think that as the season goes along, we can get there.
Yeah, it'll be the first half of the season is going to be really, really interesting to see what we do. I predict that this team looks very different, rotation-wise, player-wise, by Christmas, if not, you know, if all it's the trade deadline in February. But either way, I'm excited for the season. This is one of those wins that you're pumped to be able to get, and going into a tough freaking battle in Phoenix tomorrow and hoping for another good one and hoping for another surprise.
We'll take a surprise at this point. I got to say, I was super surprised that Clarkson was able to keep Kawhi Leonard in front of him
at the end.
On the last possession.
I got to give it to him.
Tip your hat.
Yes.
Tip your hat.
He played on the final possession where it mattered. He did his job perfectly.
How many times out of 10 would you say that Kawhi Leonard converts in that matchup 1v1?
Like 7 out of 10.
I was gonna say 8.5, but whatever.
Listen, I'm trying to give a little bit of credit because he
But
held him once.
kept him in front of him. I mean, we cap on Clarkson
Did
pretty
what he needed
hard
to
for
do.
defense.
He did exactly what he needed to
We'll
do.
take it.
And loved it. So, but either way, we'll see you guys tomorrow, and hope it's another good, fun conversation.
Amen, brother.
Okay. Thanks, guys.